Welcome Lund loyalists to John Lund Unleashed. Those watching on YouTube, on the John Lund Unleashed and Bay Area Sports Collective channels. Viewers on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and Lundos listening to the podcast on Apple and Spotify. John Lund Unleashed, brought to you by 𝐸𝐴𝐵 Sports Medicine. Got pain? Check out our revolutionary stem cell treatments. And guys, if low T is bringing you down, 𝐸𝐴𝐵 Sports Medicine can put you back in the game. Now all juiced up and ready to go, here's Johnny.
Sell, 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 sell. Everything must go Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. I don't know why I say Sunday. I don't think the deadline is Sunday. It's not. It's tomorrow. It's tomorrow, Thursday. Sorry I'm late. Had some things to take care of this morning, and they were of the utmost importance. Not that the show is, not that you're not. It is very, very important to me, but I had to take certain things that had to take precedence this morning. Therefore, we're late. And I'm glad that you showed up because, man, is there a lot to get onto. But they're 500. They're the worst team in baseball since mid-June. They're the worst team in baseball since the All-Star break. And then think of it since mid-June. It's 13-25 is what it is. And you can see there, Elliot Ramos is a big part of it. He just makes boneheaded play after boneheaded play. There was a play at first in the 8th that just showed the inexperience of Devers again. He just went too far towards second base, and Rogers didn't get over to first in time. And again, he should have been over there. I mean, he's athletic. You got to get off the mound. I know he's got a funky delivery, but Devers should have known if he was an experienced first baseman to probably not go that far. If not, then Rogers should have been over on first base, and they'd lose to the Pirates, and they're going to lose the series. And the best they can do is just get one from the Pirates. And so it just continues, the free fall for the Giants. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It will not allow us to dampen our spirits for episode 207 as we have a lot of things to do. And good morning to you. Worst team since the break, 500 as we're looking at the chalkboard. That's where they sit one day before the deadline. Just sloppy play, bad IQ baseball, all of the above. And it's not just one part of the team, as I told you yesterday, and I showed you the game notes. It's been the pitching this month. It's been the starting pitching. It's been the relief pitching. It's been the non-hitting. They got 2 hits last night. It's been runners in scoring position. It's been bad IQ. It's been bad baseball altogether. It's been a combination of things. When you are the worst team in baseball over the last now about 6 weeks, it's everything. That's just what it is. You can't just blame one side of it. Just like when you're playing well, it's everybody contributing, and that's what's going on with the Giants. So we can sit here and say it's the hitting because they only got 2 hits last night. We can complain like we often have and say it's runners in scoring position. We can bitch and moan and say Verlander was a terrible signing. Last night he was fine and should have got a better fate. So it's on and on and on and on till the break of dawn. And the Giants aren't good. And they don't have a good farm system like we talked about. If they had, then they would bring up some players to help the major league team. They haven't. They lost pitching depth when they traded for Devers. I would make that trade 100 out of 100 times, despite the fact that he is struggling at first base. It was a great trade, and long-term it is going to end up being a great trade. But you can't deny that since he's been here, they've been very bad. It hasn't been because of him. It's just that's what this team was going to do, regardless of they had gotten him or not. This is what this team was going to do. He was supposed to help when he came here on June 15th. That is not what has happened. It's just been kind of a coincidence that that's when they started their nosedive, because it's certainly not because of him. But everything has combined to really point towards whether Buster wants to or not. The baseball gods have said, Buster, what else do we need to prove to you? This is not a good baseball team. And you would think that, when they did what they did on the 15th, that they had a defined direction, which is we're going to, no matter what, go in the direction of buy. And I was all on board of that until this, last 10 days where it really, really, really got bad. They've lost, 12 of 14, I believe it is now. So I guess it's the last 2 weeks, really. They've lost 12 of 14, and they've lost to good teams, bad teams, whatever the case may be. We've had discussions throughout the season this year. Well, they're better against 500 teams, or it's better, this team, that team. Look, they've played poorly against the White Sox. They've played good against some better teams. There is no rhyme or reason to what they do, and all of the parts of the team are broken. So if I'm Buster Posey and I take all those things into consideration of what my team has played like recently, what the realistic nature of not only making the playoffs, but doing something once I get there, all the parts that are broken on this team, from starting pitching to the relievers starting to leak oil, to the hitting just not being good enough, to everything. There's not one player that's going to put a gigantic Band-Aid on the woes that are the Giants. That's just the bottom line. And then you put on top of that if the farm system was any good, some of these guys could have come up and really helped this team, and they really haven't. So it's screaming for help. And so there's two sides of this, which is to get players, you got to give up players, and they really don't have them in the system. And then if those players could have came up, well, maybe they're 2 years away, and I understand that, but they're trying to win in the now. So Devers is going to be a good trade down the line. He may not have to play first base. I mean, it's ugly there right now. Maybe Bryce Eldridge, who, again, is not supposed to be a really good first baseman at this point. I haven't seen him enough play there to form an opinion, but they're trying to have him play better at first base. Maybe next year he comes up and he can play a good first base, and Devers goes back to DH, and Eldridge is what he's supposed to be, and all of a sudden you got a great DH and a really good first baseman and blah, 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 and there's a few positions you got to shore up, and pitchers will always sign here, and there you go. And we had the discussion yesterday that, Robbie Ray, what he could bring back, and Camilo Duvall, what he can bring back. And look, if they all of a sudden became sellers, they could fortify the farm system. They could be better in the future. And I think that's what they need to do, because it's not only getting into the playoffs, squeaking in, but it's doing something once you get there. And the Giants have shown no signs of not only not getting to the playoffs, but certainly in a really tough National League, not doing jack squat once they got there. So that's kind of the Giants story. Good morning. Good morning. We'll get into a lot of 49ers camp. I thought that KLAY Kubiak was really fascinating yesterday, and I did not do a 49ers recap, but I will do somewhat of one today. I've got to be a little shorter on the Niners than I would like to be, so I think that tonight I'll come back at 6 o'clock and do a full recap, because there's so much KLAY Kubiak, and I don't want to I could do a whole hour on just what KLAY Kubiak said yesterday and how fascinating it was. And I've told you before that I'm really happy that he finally has a right-hand man, which he has lacked since Mike McDaniel left for the Dolphins. So I think it's going to be a really good year for the offense, not only because there are those players that are still there. It's different than the defense, but also that I think KLAY Kubiak is going to even Kyle out a little bit this year, and I'll explain that. So we'll get into all those things, plus a lot of random things, and the sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose Pistol. Your questions, comments, and thoughts are always welcome. Please hit them up in the chat room. If you'd come over to John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, that would be outstanding. Maybe you're watching on one of the other platforms, but come over. We got a great chat room. That's who I'm going to reference when I say roll call in just a second. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Say hello. Come on over. Hang out with us a little bit. Nobody will bite. If your opinion is different than mine, that is fine. If it's different than somebody in the chat room, that is fine. We've got a great chat room here with a bunch of people who just like to hang out, talk some sports, and keep them in their proper perspective. So come over, say hello at John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Please make sure you subscribe. Hit that like button so that the algorithm thinks we're not half bad. That would be great. And keep those alerts on so that we can hit you up when we send stuff out throughout the day. But we won't be, all over you on stuff like that. Good morning to Pine and Chris. Chris is here. Tommy, good morning to you, my friend. James, it is great to see your shiny face today. Hello, Kenny. I know, Kenny. They're 2 years away from being 2 years away. Anthony is here this morning. Hello, Anthony. It is good to see you, my friend. Tacky is here. Dom, good morning. By the way, Creative Tony and our good friend Polymax Particles, PMP. It's Wednesday night, right? So it's a Wednesday, so they'll be doing a night flight tonight. So I can go for a minute. Our good friend Daniel from the 916 is here. Who else is here? John Joseph. It is great to see you, my friend. Jake is here this morning. Great group of people. Joy is here. That is awesome to see. And again, I apologize that I'm late. We had some things going on this morning. JR is here this morning. Very cool to see you, my friend. And again, everybody in the chat room, these people, good friends of the show, and they are all hanging out. Joe Schmo is here. Baba Booey is here. 49ers Raj 209 is here this morning. Good friends of the show that are hanging out in the chat room at John Lund Unleashed. Yes, I'm catching some flack, and I totally deserve it. Hi, Hurley Bird. It is good to see you. All right. Here's what we got going on. I did kind of my rant. I didn't mean to, but I kind of did the rant on the Giants, and you can agree or disagree. I would sell. I think I've made that abundantly clear. I would sell. They've told you, Buster, and you can't fight the baseball gods. This is losing 12 of 14. This is 13 and 25 since the middle of June. You're not a good baseball team. And even though I'm sure you went in when you got Devers and told the powers that be that opened up the wallets that, look, this is going to be the missing piece and we're going to go in one direction and we're good to go. But I don't need to explain it to you again. You know who's getting into the playoffs and who's not. You know who's going to win the divisions. You know who's going to be the wild cards. Scratch all those teams above them out. Padres, 49 losses. Reds, Cardinals, Giants. Those are the teams for the final wild card spot. Here's what's crazy about the Giants right now. 54 wins, 54 losses, 54 games to go. Go and press your friends with that. 54 wins, 54 losses, 54 games to go. And they're atrocious. Do you think the Marlins should sell? Well, the Marlins are one game in the loss column where we count them behind the Giants. The Marlins are sellers. Everybody's talked about the Marlins as sellers. They've got pitching. They've got a couple of hitters. The Marlins have been sellers. Arizona's going to be sellers. They're 3 games behind. So then it goes into the abyss. I get that. The Cardinals have been talked about as sellers. They're 55 and 54. Cincinnati's going to buy to the extent that they can. They're not a major market team, but even they have been talked about with Suarez to come back to Cincinnati and hitting the Great American Small Park at third base. They've been talked about as being aggressive. AJ Preller is always aggressive. He might buy and sell. There's been discussions that he might move a pitcher and then bring in other pitchers who have more time, So there's all sorts of stuff going around the Padres. They always do crazy creative things because they're not really a major market, but their payroll says that they are. But right now, as you look at them with 54 to go, 54, 54, and 54, 54 wins, 54 losses, 54 to go, you are 5 in the loss behind the Padres. And oh, by the way, you're going to see them a lot after the Mets series, which I'm nervous about because the Mets are good. And they just swept you, and the Pirates have a chance to do that today. These Pirates that are 46 and 62, and without seeing Paul Skeens, they could sweep you today at home. You're looking up at a team like the Padres, and they could seal your fate pretty quickly here. Because after the Mets, I think you're going to see them like 7 times in 10 games, something like that. So this is going to be it for the Giants, their last stand. And maybe that's where Buster says, well, we're going to see the Padres a lot. Maybe we can get back in this thing. I understand that. But like I said at the beginning in my short little rant there, it's pretty obvious. And I don't know, I live my life this way, not to get too deep. But when signs keep hitting you, boom, 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 sometimes you just start listening to them. Like, all these things are happening. Maybe I'll just start listening to the signs that are being thrown at me, not so subtly. This is not subtle. This is, hey, we're just 500 there. And if you were creeping to 500, let's say you were on the other end of this. You got off to a bad start and you were hot now. And you had gotten to 500, it would be totally different. There's different ways at 500. So you're a lesser team and you're kind of going like this. And you're like, hey, man, we're starting to gain momentum here. We're getting healthy. Our pitchers are pitching better. We're at 500. Hey, we're on the ascend. Maybe you would buy. It's not a 500 thing. It's where you are right now thing. Not playing well. They've got problems in the rotation. They got problems in the pen, which was their backbone. They're playing sloppy baseball. They're playing stupid baseball. And there's a difference. Sloppy baseball is not covering first base last night in the 8th inning. Stupid baseball is what Elliot Ramos does a couple of times a week and did again last night. That's bad. And what that reflects on, and we seem to talk about Bob Melvin every single day because it is kind of low-hanging fruit. I'm sorry, I know players playing coaches coach, but you can't fire all the players. And when players make dumb mistakes all the time, consistently, as the Giants seems to do, those are mental mistakes. That goes back to the coaching staff. It just does. Goes back to the manager, goes back to the coaches. What's going on here? Why aren't they being corrected 108 games into the season? That's a problem. And so if I'm Buster Posey, I am fuming like a cartoon character with steam coming out of my ears because I'm not on the right side of 500 going up. I'm doing this. I'm 13 and 25 in my last 28. I'm the worst team in baseball since mid-June. I'm the worst team in baseball since the All-Star break. I seem to be breaking down all over the place. I can't get a key hit. And last night I can only get 2 in general against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's a problem. So, look, they're going to gather together. I thought there was virtually no way that the Giants would be sellers at the deadline after they acquired Rafael Devers. They had a clear direction. But now with clear glasses and looking at what this team really is, they need the farm system to be rebooted because they've brought up guys this year to try to help them, and none of them have really come through on, I don't know, a pitcher, a hitter, whatever. There's just nothing there. How many times do we got to see Brett Wisely? How many times do we got to see Tyler Fitzgerald? How many times, we've seen them. Like, it'll be nice to see Bryce Eldridge, I guess, if you wanted to move, a couple of the guys down there we've seen again and again, but None of the pitchers that we've seen come from the minors, at least the ones that are deemed to be ready, have done anything. Now, maybe there's some guys in the lower minors that in a couple of years could help this team, or maybe next year could help this team. That's fine. But you're going to need guys next year to help this ball club. Now, I think now that Willy Adames has adjusted to this team, and he's clearly their best hitter right now, and good for him. He's on pace, I think, now for about 25 home runs and about 85 RBIs. And I thought, you know what? That would be a good first year. That's what I thought Willy Adames might do. Remember, 32 home runs last year, 112 RBIs, his best offensive season as a major leaguer. That wasn't going to be realistic in this ballpark, playing 81 games here. So 25, 85, not bad. Not too bad. Willy Adames has been red hot. Good for him. So he's adjusted now. I think he's gotten over kind of the, oh my gosh, I'm playing in the Grand Canyon kind of thing that players sometimes do here. Chapman's a solid player, was injured early. Devers is going to be fine. Not really worried about it. Eldridge is supposed to be something. All right. You got a base of players for the future, but what else? A couple of pitchers could sign here in the offseason if they'll continue to open up their wallet. Bullpens kind of fluctuate year to year. You can be great one year and bad the next. That happened in 21. 21, they had a hammer bullpen, and they won all those games. 22, they couldn't figure it out, and a bunch of those guys were gone. So you never know. It fluctuates year to year. So I don't know what that's going to be. But you can definitely upgrade the starting pitching. You can do those things, but you're going to have to take a hit right now. And to me, now I look at my team. Okay, it's not very good, and it's kind of like some of these lesser teams. But what I can do is I can take bits and pieces. Even the worst teams in the league have pieces that people want. You know, the Marlins right now have pieces. I mean, look on down the line. There are players that teams want, even on bad teams. Luis Robert on the White Sox, hot commodity. There's pitchers all over the place. Bad teams, good teams want them. So there's no doubt. Robbie Ray could get you a lot. Camilo Duvall could get you a lot. You know, I'm not thinking about trading Devers or getting out of Adames' contract, or Chapman's not going anywhere. Nobody's taking Jung-Hoo Lee's big fat contract. You know, those things aren't happening. I'm not going to trade Ramos. He's still an ARB guy. I still think, you know, at the end of the year, he's going to have 25 homers and knock in 80. That's okay. He's got to get smarter as a player. He's got to quit making dumb mistakes, but I still like him. Yaz probably won't get you much. I know people are going to want to move Yaz, but he's not going to get you a whole lot. So, yeah, there's 2 or 3 players on this team that could help replenish your system, and you're probably not going anywhere. I know that Ray has another year on his contract, but that only gets you more back in return. So, I don't know. You definitely have to look at it. I just don't think they're a player away. There are a lot of places on this team where you have to put a big fat Band-Aid, and there's just not enough players out there to do it. So, you can disagree with me, and I'm not, and believe me, I'm open to all suggestions and thoughts, but I just don't see it. And especially in the National League where it's as strong as it is. I would have a different opinion, even the way they've played, and even though they sit here at 500 and it's very disappointing, and it's the way they've played, both mentally and physically. But I would look at this team and I would say, I don't know, if the National League were different. Like, let me make an NBA comparison. The East this year is so open because Jason Tatum is hurt and Tyrese Halliburton is hurt. And I don't know who the favorite in the East is. Atlanta made some really nice moves in the offseason. The Knicks kind of are, you know, but Boston's not going to be back where they were. Indiana lost Turner and Halliburton. They're not going to be back. I mean, you know, you start looking at the East, and if you're a team in the East, if you're the Heat or somebody like that, I don't know, you're Milwaukee, and people are like, well, Milwaukee's not very good. I mean, Giannis should want to leave there. I don't know. You're looking in the East going, we don't even really have to be that good to win the East. You know, the West is a different story. But that's my comp to the National League, which is the National League is stacked. The National League, I think there's a number of teams who could win it. The Dodgers could, the Phillies could, the Brewers could, the Cubs could, you know, depending on what happens at the deadline. But I think there's, you know, the Mets. I think there's 5 or 6 teams, maybe 5 teams, 4 or 5 teams, solid, that could win the National League. And I think they're all years better than the Giants. So I know what happened in 10, 12, and 14, and I'm not trying to be a downer. You can get in. It's just about getting in. I get it. But those are really good teams. So, A, I don't think the Giants are getting in. B, once they got there, if they got knocked out in a couple of games, what would be the point of that? So I just don't see it. And I think as an executive, Buster's a smart guy, and he lived 10, 12, and 14. He gets it. He knows you just have to get in. But I also think as an executive, you can't be a fan. You can't get emotional. And you have to distance yourself away from it. And you have to be realistic, and you have to have a large view of your team and say, we're not that far away, but this isn't our year. and you look at your farm system and you say, you know what, at the top here, because this is obvious, at the top here, we just don't have the players that can help us today. And maybe they have some at the lower levels, but at the upper levels where they need some guys, that's where they need replenishment. And so if I'm Buster, I trade a Robbie Ray. Maybe I trade a Camilo Duvall because I can get pitching to sign here. I'm not going to trade any hitters, but I can trade some excess pitching. Rogers is kind of lately not so great, but he's still got some pretty good numbers. I mean, what can I get for those guys? And in return, try to get some players who are pretty close to the majors, who I can fortify my team with next year. And then I got that next level of player that hopefully is going to come up through the system. And now my system's a little bit more balanced. And maybe next year when I have these same issues, I've got guys who are ready to play Major League Baseball. So I just think going out and trying to buy and put a big Band-Aid on it, I don't think it makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. Could be wrong. Give me your thoughts. But that's what's going on as far as I say on the Giants. You can tell me anything different, but the baseball gods are screaming at the Giants, and I don't think they should ignore it. It's just really ugly baseball, It's the record, and very rarely it looks this obvious, right? Don't you think? I mean, very rarely it looks this obvious that it's the record, it's the way they're playing, it's the mental mistakes, it's the physical mistakes, what we saw last night not covering first, and Devers going too far, that's inexperience. It's all of those things, game after game after game. And I'm sure Verlander's frustrated. In fact, I do this every day, so why don't we just share the screen, shall we? And look at this thing. I mean, it was just ugly, man. I feel bad for Verlander last night. I mean, look at this. This is as good as he can do at this point of his career. 5 innings pitched, 1 earned, strikes out 7. What do you want him to do? That's a solid 5 from Justin Verlander. But here's the problem. Lucchesi, it's a 156 ERA. I get it, but I'm not a huge fan. Ryan Walker has struggled pretty much all season long, but he did a nice job. I get it. Rogers, for some reason, again, it's a 180, but the last couple of outings has not been great. And, Beck, these aren't the hammer guys that you're normally seeing in the bullpen outside of Rogers. So that's kind of that. And then you're allowing a team like this, but I mean, that pen is not bad. But you're allowing a team like the Pirates to absolutely dominate you. 2 hits. Look at this. 1 here, and he's red hot, and 1 here. And he might be something at second base. Who knows? But that's it. They just unbelievable, man. Terrible night for the Giants. And if you're Buster sitting in that big old suite that they John Shea wrote about earlier this year, can it be any more obvious? I mean, as they were sitting in that thing last night, staring at each other, talking, because remember, they blew out the wall. So they have this big room that they can talk to each other as they're watching the game. Can the baseball gods have made it any more obvious? Justin Verlander couldn't really have done any more at this stage of his career. Couldn't get any hits. Today, it's probably going to be runners in scoring position. Tomorrow, it's going to be the bullpen blowout. The next day, it's going to be the starter couldn't get out of the first inning, whatever. It's just been a combination of things. And that's how it goes when you're not playing good baseball. But tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow's the day that they have to make a decision. And all these things combining, I don't know how they can get to any other decision but let's sell. And if they do, I think it's malpractice. I do. I just think it's time. So give me your thoughts on that. Give me your thoughts on what you think the Giants should do. Hi, David. It's good to see you. The San Francisco Giants squandered the last 45 days. The Dodgers and Padres have played mediocre. If the Giants had played decently, when they acquired Rafael Devers on June 15th, they were a game out of first place. I believe it was either a half game or a game out of first place. And so everybody's like, well, Devers, it's Devers. It's not Devers. It's everybody. I mean, he hasn't been great. I'll give you that, but it ain't because of him. He's trying to play first base on the fly. It's not been great, and he's got to be better than what he's been. But do you realize he's still on a 110 RBI pace? I mean, it sure as hell ain't him. It's everybody. Just like if we were talking about him going 25-13 instead of 13-25, it would be everybody. That's what happens when you win or when you lose. You can't just pin it on one thing. It's not that way. It's just like life. Somebody becomes a millionaire and you go, what is your secret? You got a couple of hours? Somebody who makes a ton of money, unless they win the lottery or something, they've got, here's what I did. And it's all these different steps. Same with somebody who struck out, in life. It's like, well, this. It's generally not one thing why someone's successful and someone's not. And it's the same thing in team sports. There's not one thing or one person that made the Giants tailspin. It's a combination of things. And like I said, I showed you this yesterday. Starting pitching has gone into the tank. The relievers have gone into the tank. The hitting, especially runners in scoring position. And last night, just flat out 2 hits. I don't know how else you could determine it. I mean, this is how it is. So we'll see. We'll see what Buster Posey does in the next, not even 48 hours. So we shall see. Give me your thoughts. And there you go. Someone agrees. And again, you don't have to. Hi, Sam. You don't have to agree. If you have a thought that says, hey, let's just keep it together. Because like I said, if there was a team that was going the opposite way, that was, floundering, and then it just gone, and they're playing well at the right time, maybe they get healthy. At that point, yeah, you're 500 and you're buying because you're hot at the right time. It's just, that's when the trade deadline comes up. And right now, I just don't know that it could be any more obvious. So I'm not going to repeat myself. There you go. Give me your thoughts. 49ers, much better news for the most part as far as the 49ers concerned. And I really enjoyed, and I think I'm going to have to come back and do a recap of the 49ers day at camp yesterday and give you a little bit more on KLAY KUBIAK, because I thought he was really entertaining yesterday. But let me just give you a couple of things, a couple of notes that I had before we get into some video from him. First of all, injury-wise, still Jennings is out with that calf. Nobody's talking about it. KLAY KUBIAK, as an offensive coordinator, very quickly dismissed the question and just said, he's not around and I don't have any information on it. So that's quickly. Usually that's a question for either John Lynch, who hasn't been around since training camp started, not been accessible to the media, or for Kyle Shanahan, who isn't going to speak until, I guess, Friday because they're off today. Demo was off, but that was just a day off. Pearsall was off. That was just a day off. That's nothing. Mikael Williams was out with an ankle injury in camp yesterday. I would normally be concerned, but then afterwards they said it was minor. No big deal. It's just, again, a little bit of wear and tear stuff, and guys are going to get days off. So I'm not overly concerned about that. I'm going to play a cut from you. Speaking of injuries, you're seeing, I'm sure, in videos that a lot of people who cover the 49ers and do 49ers content comes out. Brandon Ayuk, you'll see him in like black sweats, kind of a black hoodie, and he's just jumping around with the guys out there a little bit. And KLAY KUBIAK had an interesting thing to say about that. I'm obsessed with one-on-ones, as you know, and something interesting happens. You never see this. Guy does a one-on-one, which is, they're in pads right now. So a guy will do a one-on-one rep against somebody. So let's say it's, I don't know, because CJ West has been so good. CJ West does one against Dominic Pooney, right? Whoever wins, whatever, they go to the back of the line, and whoever you get is who you get. So McKivitz goes against Bosa. And Bosa wins the first one, and then immediately they go at it again. And Bosa kind of slips, and then McKivitz, as big as he is, just kind of covers him. And so you give McKivitz that one. And Bosa right away holds his hands up and says, no, I want another one. So they go a third time, and then Bosa beats him. And so he beats him 2-1. But it was good. It was a good matchup. And you normally don't see that. I don't know if you're thrilled by that, but it was kind of cool to watch. I'm going to get in a little bit on some Jordan Watkins because I told you this a couple of days ago, and now everybody's jumping on the bandwagon because Watkins made a nice catch in practice on a deep ball from Brock Purdy, which the 49ers posted so I can show you. It was an 11-on-11, and I've told you before that they don't allow the cameras on 11-on-11. So I'm going to show you this video. I'm going to let you hear from KLAY KUBIAK, offensive coordinator with Kyle Shanahan. And Kyle still calls the plays, but and he talks about Watkins. And I told you a couple of days ago that I was watching him in his releases off the line, just with the pads on, because there was so much talk about him with the shorts on. And early in camp, I think he was just kind of finding his footing again. And KLAY KUBIAK was saying, really, after OTAs, they kind of have to relearn the system because maybe they forgot something or whatever. Being back on the field, it takes him a couple of days. So I was looking at Jordan Watkins, and I was kind of like, he's not all that impressive. And then all of a sudden, over the last couple of days, he's been really good. So I told you about it in the last report that I did a couple of days ago. I did a 6 o'clock report on, what's today, Wednesday? So I did it on Monday. And I told you I really liked, because I was watching Watkins, just the quickness. He does, kind of a jab step out and then in. And he was getting open on these short crossers. And I think that he could be really effective in that way, kind of a, 3rd and 3, boom, jab step, quick crossing route. Chiefs do those all the time, catches the ball and he's out of bounds. He's got 5 yards and there's nothing you can do to stop it. He's just too fast. So he was running those kind of routes. I really liked how he got off the line. And I was just mentioning that, he'd really started to come along. I was watching him in drills and I really liked how he was progressing. And then KLAY KUBIAK talked about him. So I'm going to play that for you a little bit. And people were on him. What else did I have? Oh, wide receivers. All right. So with Jauan Jennings being out, and KUBIAK talked about this, I don't have the clip, but KUBIAK talked about that really nobody has overly emerged. But then he brought up Russell Gage. He didn't bring up Hodgins, a guy that was on the Giants. But with all these injuries that are happening, with young guys taking kind of a minute, I wouldn't be surprised if Russell Gage was a starter for week 1 for the 49ers. Because I think it's going to be Pearsall. You got your fingers crossed on Jennings, who is still out with that calf. So I'm going to say Jennings for now and Pearsall. And so you're thinking to yourself, who's going to be the other guy? Well, Russell Gage is a smaller receiver. He's played in the slot. Remember, Tampa Bay and Atlanta. And again, I don't think I have this clip for you with KUBIAK, but KLAY was saying how he's really been a professional. He was kind of feeling his way around OTAs, and he's really come on in camp. And that makes a ton of sense. He's a veteran guy, been here, done that. But we're all excited as fans. We get obsessed with what's behind door number 3. I'll take door number 3 money because we don't know what that player is. And so we see young players, and then we as guys who report about training camp, we get obsessed with young players and we want to be that guy that uncovered this guy or that guy, but we forget about guys who have done it. So as the other young players are kind of getting their feet under them, watch 84. He's even wearing an old school number. Like all the young guys, they don't wear 80s numbers. Those are for old school guys, right? Well, Russell Gage wears 84, and I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if he was starting in the slot in Seattle in week 1. I just wouldn't. Now, maybe Ковing will be back in time to make a push there, but these 2 weeks with this hamstring until he comes back reportedly for Raiders week might be an issue. Anything else? Oh, I love Bryce Huff. You're going to hear from Bryce Huff too. And by the way, KLAY KUBIAK loves to use the term stacking days. All right, so there you go. Here is, let me see, what should we start with? Let's start with little BA. This is KLAY KUBIAK again, who is Kyle's right-hand man now on the offensive side of the ball, kind of like what Mike McDaniel used to do before he left for Miami, and I love this. So here he is talking about BA. He's not talking about when he's going to come back or anything like that, but just how he likes having him on the field as he rehabs.
Those guys, he's very much a part of the position group, meaning he's not just isolated doing his rehab and then being around the building. He's in the individual drills with them. He's on the field. When we are in meetings, he's engaged. When we're at walkthroughs, he's with those guys. He's helping Hank kind of coach on the side. So, I mean, I'm real happy with BA right now with where he's at. Obviously, he's doing his rehab, and he's doing what he has to do to be ready to go.
All right, so in meetings and things like that, kind of like what he was last year. But, yeah, he's enthusiastic. He's having fun. And the only reason I bring that up is because there always seems to be, and hopefully because football's back and camps are in and there's no need to kind of, I'm not going to say make things up, but make things maybe bigger than what they are. There isn't a rift between him and the franchise, I mean, I know the money, and I know maybe if they have things to do over again, maybe they wouldn't give him that money, or maybe he would be somewhere else, or whatever the case may be. But in terms of the player, they don't dislike the player. Kyle doesn't dislike the player. John doesn't dislike the player. Jed doesn't dislike the player. It was just a tough situation to be in. And like I said, I think that a lot of organizations, I think they were drunk. I mean, it was like, why are you paying wide receivers who really shouldn't have leverage outside of a guy like Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson? I mean, the top of the top, CeeDee Lamb, the top of the top have the leverage. But a lot of these receivers at that next level, you can find other ones. You can recreate your wide receiver room from year to year. And the ones who are just a level or two down, you hate to lose them, but man, to pay them $30 million and put that much resource into those rooms, I think is wrong. And I think the Niners saw that and kind of went, okay, well, then a guy like Debo, no, we don't think you're worth that. And that's why I think they're going to come to an agreement with Jennings. Not that he's not holding out or anything, that cap is legit, but I think they'll come to a reasonable 2-year deal with Jennings when he comes back and he's healthy and everything like that. But he's not going to get $20 million a year like Debo was getting before he went to Washington. They're just not going to do that again. Now here's the Watkins. Now let me play the video for you first. And again, when 11 on 11s happen, we aren't allowed to film those kind of things. We're just filming a lot of the drills and things like that. And then the Niners will release some of the video, and then it's like, okay, then it's fair game. So this is courtesy of the Niners. I've been telling you what great releases that Jordan Watkins has been getting, using his speed. And it's not a power move at the line or anything. It's just this quick jab step, and you can't really get your hands on the guy, and then he's gone. So this kind of play does not surprise me. Here he is catching a deep one. They're off today, so this was in the 11-on-11s yesterday from Brock Purdy. And you kind of like the slow-mo there. And again, we can't give you any music because that's copyrighted and I don't want to get my video blocked. But you can see there, he's behind two defenders. Now, in training camp, there's a good and there's a bad. Great play, Jordan Watkins. Great throw, Brock Purdy. Gets off the line, 4.37 speed. Awesome. Jason Pinnock is 25. He's slated to be one of the starting safeties, or I know it's wide open, as Robert Saleh says, but he's been getting a lot of the reps. And then Darrell Luter Jr. is 28. He's in there because Renardo Green has got that hamstring. He's the backup at that corner spot. Those two guys are guys that could get a lot of playing time on your defense. They got beat. So it depends on how you look at it. I tend to look at it as Jordan Watkins, as I said, after the first couple of days, has really picked up some momentum. He uses that speed. Clearly, he got off the line well. And so nice play by Jordan Watkins. Here is KLAY Kubiak yesterday morning. This was before that play, talking about how Jordan Watkins has progressed through camp.
Did a good job in the spring. Obviously, he had a good OTAs, but coming back and just starting to stack days and stacking the mental, that's the strain on a rookie. Obviously the strain on your body, but then the mental strain of showing up to practice every day and being on it. And he does that, right? He has shown that he can handle the mental load. He does a really good job, and he's just got to keep getting better and keep showing up to practice and getting after it.
Stacking days. Anytime that KLAY Kubiak is going to be on the podium, you will hear the term stacking days. Again, I only have a few cuts from him, and like I said, I think I'm going to be back at 6 o'clock just because he has so many, 6 o'clock Pacific, he has so many things that he says, and I hadn't heard from him before, and he's just really fascinating. And like I said, maybe I'm overvaluing this, but I don't think I am. I just think that Kyle needs another guy in the room that he trusts, and I think he trusts KLAY Kubiak. And remember, Gary Kubiak played in the league. Obviously, Shanahan's dad, Mike. So you've got, and Clint Kubiak is the offensive coordinator in Seattle. So I think those guys will probably be head coaches. They know this system very, very well. And I like having an adult in the room, and he handles the media very, very well. So he's a really interesting guy to hear from. In fact, I think I have another one from him. Yeah, let's keep with receivers because I love talking about receivers and defensive linemen. You know that. You want to hear about Ricky Pearsall. Now, Ricky did have a day off yesterday. Not injury related in the slightest. They just, after a few days, he was out for a while, getting his conditioning down, making sure that he's all good to go. They don't want to push him too hard. So this was planned to give him a day off. So there was no injury, nothing's flared up, anything like that. But here is KLAY Kubiak asked about Ricky Pearsall's ceiling.
I just think the more Ricky's out there, the more you see him, his route running, right? How polished it can become. I think as the year went on last year, he just got so much better versus man-to-man coverage. The more man coverage you see, the more physical DB play you see, Ricky gets better, and that excites me a lot. He's a guy who's going to rise to the occasion with more physical defensive back play. But he's got to be out there. He's got to be consistent, and so I think Ricky just gets better and better the more he's out there. And so he's just got to stay out there and stay healthy and take care of his body. And I think the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, with Ricky, and I'm not saying that he's going to break out or anything because you do have to see it in the games, but I'm just giving you my opinion after watching about 5 practices and a couple in pads, which is he's just really graceful. He makes it look so easy. His stride is easy. His speed is on these guys. What seems to be, they don't think it's quite as fast as he is. The reason why he's such a great route runner is when he makes his cuts, they're cuts at full speed. He doesn't give anything away. When he goes up for the ball, it's always, he's a hands catcher. He plucks the ball easily out of the air. His movements are fluid and easy. That's why when everybody watches him play, you just see this guy that just has everything that you need to do. Now, I don't know if he's overly physical, but he can get off the line. He can do those kind of things. Maybe he needs to get a little bit stronger, but I mean, I'm just saying from an athletic standpoint, you just watch him play after play after play. He's very consistent. He's just got great movement skills, speed, body control. He just has everything. So does that mean he's going to be a great wide receiver in the league? No, but it just means everything is there. You know, it's one of those scouting things where you look at a guy and you just say, he's got this, and you draft him. And then when he doesn't work out, you say to your, general manager, if you're the scout or if you're the general manager, you say to your owner, look, man, he had everything. I don't know how it didn't work out because he just seems to have everything. And again, is he overly big? No, but he's not small. He's listed, I think, about 6'1", 190. So, I mean, he's got everything you need. And what Clay was essentially saying there is if Ricky can get on the field and say it with me, stack days, and just boom, 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 he's going to be good because he's got all the skills necessary to do it. You can just tell in camp he's much more confident than he was a year ago. So would I like to say that he's going to have a breakout year? I would, but I'd just like to see him do it more and more and more and more and just kind of get past all these nagging things that he's had and consistently do it. And then I think that Ricky Pearsall is going to have a good year, but we shall see. So let's see. I got through the wide receivers. Boy, that took a minute. Told you, I didn't really tell you on Watkins. I just been watching him a lot of times. Stacking days is what he says a ton. Let me play Bryce Huff because the other obsession I have is the defensive line. Oh, I've got a cut for you. If I didn't load this, I have to. Hold on a second. I gotta load something for you. A video that the Niners posted this, and so now I can post it. So remember the other day, I think you were with me the other day. I gotta show this to you. So this is gonna pop up right on the screen. So I'm gonna just play this for you right out of here. Please tell me I have this. I do. Okay, it's right here. Okay, so let me explain this. So remember the other day, and everybody was doing this. This was, I believe it was Monday was the first day in practice. So Monday night, I did a recap show at 6 p.m. Pacific after I came back from practice. And everybody was CJ West. And I put a bunch of videos up there of CJ West and Alfred Collins and all these different guys doing the drills in the pads, all the different drills and hitting the sleds and doing all these different things. And it was really cool. And it was a beautiful day. And so we're taking all this video and I'm thinking to myself, man, people are going to love seeing this. But I was waiting for the one-on-ones, right? So the offensive line comes jogging over. It's really cool. And here comes Trent Williams and all the different guys. And here comes the D-line. So the offense is in red, the defense is in white. I'm like, this is going to be cool. So I set up this little tripod thing I have and I'm just ready to go. And then literally as they blow the whistle to start the one-on-ones, the offensive line versus defensive line, they wave their arms up in the air and they go, no more cameras, which is, that's the way it goes. And we all got to shut off the cameras. And then CJ West was like Tasmanian devil, right? He's blowing guys away. And so we had to try to explain it to you. Well, then yesterday they're still in pads and they do a little bit of this. And this will just give you a sense. There's 2 reps here of CJ West. And this will just give you a sense of his nonstop motor. His reps weren't as dominant yesterday as they were on Monday where he was just blowing guys off the ball. But watch 99 here and just it's his leg drive, it's his hands moving. It's just like I told you, he's a rolling ball of knives. And he's 6'1", he's listed at 317. I bet he's closer to like 320, 330. But he's just really strong in the lower body. It's all a bull rush, so he's going to have to learn some other things. But you can see it's almost like a running back. He just never stops. So take a look. It's just you can't handle him. And that's CJ West right there. And so that's the same things we saw the other day. So let me just play this one more time. So just from the get-go, his arms, his legs, he's nonstop. All right, so let me just play this one more time for you. Here you go. Nonstop. Look at the dude's like, what am I supposed to do here? Like he does it again later. Like it's just he's low to the ground. He's built low to the ground. He's hard to stop. Now, look, a lot of this is against backup offensive linemen. On Monday, he took out Pooney. That was impressive. So we'll see. And Robert Saleh downplayed it a little bit on Monday, but you can just see that it's low to the ground. It's leg drive. He's moving. He's got, as Robert Saleh called it, heavy hands. I mean, the dude's a monster. I mean, he's just looking that way in camp. So anyway, there's that. And then the opposite side of that is Bryce Huff. So amongst all this discussion, I think he gets lost because Alfred Collins, a second rounder, is a monster, and CJ West is opening everybody's eyes. And Bosa is obviously a discussion point. Mikael Williams is a first-round pick, and he looks like a monster. So everybody's talking about all these different guys, and everybody forgets. They get this guy who played in Saleh's system, and 2 years ago for Saleh, gets 10 sacks. And he's a pass rush specialist only, at least now. Doesn't really set an edge. He's not that big, but he is screaming fast off the edge. So then he goes to Philly last year, signs a big contract, but he's not in that system. That's not what he does. He's not. And Vic Fangio said it at the end of the year. He had some injuries early. By the time he came back, there were guys who had already kind of assumed that role, and he really didn't fit in the system. So he comes over to the Niners. They redo his contract, and he's at home. He's in a wide 9 setup, and all he's going to be asked to do is, from over here, just go get the quarterback. Use your speed. And so here he is. He's talking about those one-on-run reps that I just showed you. But look at the guy's body. He's a built dude. He's maybe 250 pounds, and he's through camp. Every time you watch 47, he's just a rocket off the edge.
Yeah, it's extremely competitive because, like, especially in this profession, nobody likes to lose. And in the one-on-ones, it's just you and another guy, so you have no excuse. So just getting off on the rock, I'm not trying to lose any reps every time we line up in one-on-ones. I'm not ever trying to lose a rep, but, like, in one-on-ones more so everybody's just watching you, and you don't have 4 other guys you're rushing with. So it's on you to make it happen, and that's the vibe for sure.
So first of all, I'm going to leave him on the screen here for a second. I don't know if that's a medium. I don't know if that's a small. I don't know what that is. But that's not like when I wear it. Like when I wear it, that's tight like that because, I'm eating too many Twinkies or Ding Dongs or whatever. When he wears it, that's just rocked up. So the dude's rocked up in amazing shape. And then he just comes screaming off the edge. So what's going to be really cool to watch this year for the 49ers, and you got a young secondary, so the line has to heat him up to speed up that quarterback back there, or I'm going to be a little bit nervous. But he's going to come in that NASCAR package, which is their pass rushing package. And he's going to be on the outside. And Mikael Williams, who rushes both in and out in camp and has looked pretty good. He's got to add some more moves and got to stay low. But he moves to the inside. And then probably, given the fact, maybe it's not CJ West, but so far, given just what we've seen and what I just showed you from CJ West bull rush inside, maybe CJ West next to Williams. So you got the 2 rookies in there. And then Bosa and Huff screaming from the edge. That could be scary good. It's young. I mean, you got 2 real young guys on the inside. Then you got 2 established guys who obviously can put double-digit sack years together. But that might be scary. It might take a minute, but that might be scary, especially from the guys on the outside. And if those 2 guys can handle the inside and push the pocket a little bit, and those guys could come from the edge, that's looking pretty good. But he has been scary fast, both in drills and in the one-on-ones. And when they get to the 11-on-11s, I've told you this before, like a couple of times, Trent Williams didn't even get out of stance. Now, again, Trent's not playing 110 miles an hour. He's 37 years old. He's like, whatever. But the dude is fast. And like I said, he's a man of few words. That was the longest answer that he had. And I like that. He's just kind of like, yeah, I got to come up here. He's not angry or mad or anything, but whatever you ask, he answers. He's not, he's not overly boisterous or anything like that, but I really like that dude. So that is Bryce Huff. I think you're going to like 47. You might even buy a 47 jersey. I don't know, but I like that guy. So there you go. One more thing I want to hit you up with the 49ers, and not that we need to go back to this, but I think this is the first comments that Dre Greenlaw has had since he left the Niners, at least in camp. So somebody asked him yesterday about why he left the 49ers, and he looks weird at Broncos camp. So here is former, weird to say, 49ers linebacker Dre Greenlaw in Greeley, Colorado at Broncos camp when asked why he left the 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't easy, of course, but, I mean, they wanted me, you know what I mean? Throughout the whole time I was talking to Sean, there was never no ifs, ands, buts, maybe this or that. It was like, man, we want you to be here. And, I mean, I was a foster kid growing up, so it's not a lot of times that people just wanted me, you know what I'm saying? So it just made me feel special. It made me feel like this is a place where I needed to be.
Yeah, that's the only one. Like I said, I've defended the 49ers and a lot of the guys that they lost in the offseason. Hufanga gets hurt a lot. Hargrave just didn't work out. I think Debo's best days are behind him. I'm not saying he's not going to make some plays in Washington, but for what he was being paid, I just don't think so. Javarius Ward, there was a great piece by Mike Silver in The Athletic that you should catch a couple of days ago about why he left for Indianapolis. But once his daughter passed away, unfortunately, his wife had PTSD. He was struggling here. He talked all about it. He wasn't coming back here. So you can call those excuses, explanations, whatever. The 49ers did what they did in that regard. But the one is Dre Greenlaw. Because if Dre Greenlaw was out there, nothing against D Winters. I think the D Winters is going to be much better this year, at least what we've seen so far in camp. We'll see once, everything gets for real. But I think that Dre Greenlaw is going to be okay, but or that D Winters is going to be okay, but he's not Dre Greenlaw. I mean, the dude and Fred Warner just kind of had this telepathic thing. They didn't miss tackles. That the quick game that is so big in the NFL right now, they just didn't miss tackles. They're just, look, he's great. And what he said there at the beginning, or what he said right there, really is what happened. The 49ers gave a lowball offer to a guy that only played 34 snaps last year, and he was upset about it. Denver was the first team to come and offer him the money. It's only really what it comes down to. I think it was announced as a 3-year, 35. It's a 1-year, $11 million guaranteed contract is what it comes down to. And then they can make a decision after that. If he's great this year, which he might be, but he is coming off an Achilles, then Denver keeps the contract going. But what happened was the 49ers didn't think there was going to be the market that there was. They offered him a pretty low number, misread the market, tried to fly and convince Dre, but he had already given his word to Denver. They made him feel wanted. He said, I was a foster kid. I didn't feel wanted a lot. So he kept his word with Denver and he stayed with the Broncos. So of the players that they lost this last offseason, that one's going to hurt. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. That one's going to hurt. If they had him, if you think about it, if it's Greenlaw and Warner, and it's that young defensive line, and it's that young secondary, I think that in the middle of that defense, you could kind of be like, okay, we can live with this. Puts a ton of pressure on D Winters. Right now, I think I read a piece yesterday where somebody said there's a competition going on between D Winters and Nick Martin. There really isn't right now. Now, later in camp, could there be? There could. But right now, D Winters is having a really good camp. So we'll see. It's just camp. It's just practice. So could Nick Martin get into this thing? He could. Long season, lots of injuries, guys get banged up. I'm not saying that Nick Martin won't be a player this year, but I'm just saying right now, and they most of the time have a couple of linebackers on the field, and that's why Upton Stout's a big deal in nickel, because you're going to be doing that more than you're going to have 3 linebackers on the field. It's not that Nick Martin can't be on the field. It's just probably more Upton Stout than Nick Martin. But if they need a third linebacker, right now it's been Luke Gifford, who they got from Tennessee, who's more of a special teams guy. So Martin could get in that. But right now, he's not even the third linebacker, let alone the second linebacker. That could change, but I'm just saying. So, yeah, that one's going to hurt. I don't think there's any question about it. But, look, nobody's perfect. The Niners misread the market. It happens. He was coming off a major injury. They're thinking to themselves, wait a minute, 34 snaps last year? Nobody's going to offer him, $10 million contract, and somebody did. But that's what the league does, and maybe Denver's going to be right, and he just has a hell of a year. Maybe coming back from an Achilles, it's going to take some time. You just never know. It could be bad, or you could look at it and you could go, all these could blow up in their face. Hufanga could be healthy. Debo could not be done. I mean, my sense is the only one that we're going to sit here a year from now and say that one hurt is Dre. Other than that, I don't think so. I could be wrong. All right, there you go. There is a quick update on what's going on in 49er land. Again, today they are off. Tomorrow they are back. And I still have a bunch of stuff that I didn't even get to. So there is a ton of stuff going on, but I think I hit most of the treetops as far as getting you up to date on everything. And again, injury-wise, the only major one that's new, or it's not even new, is Jennings, and that's the one we got to keep an eye on to see what's going on, because they're already, as we know, depleted in the wide receiver room. Any questions, comments, thoughts on what's going on with the Niners in camp? Just wanted to get you caught up on that. So 2 big stories, obviously, deadline day tomorrow for the Giants and Niners camp. Those are the 2 big things today. Did I miss saying hello? Hi, Carlos S. It is good to see you in the chat room today, or John Lund Unleashed. Appreciate that. Joji, good morning. Konnichiwa. I think I did see that. No, I agree with it. Winters, and he hasn't proven anything, so we'll see once the season. I'm encouraged by what I've seen, but that short changes Greenlaw. I mean, Greenlaw is really good. So we shall see. I'm just saying that what I've seen from Martin is, look, he's super fast. And he's a hell of an athlete, and he's built. But outside of that, and it's hard when you're a rookie, man. You're swimming in it. So I think he's going to get better as it goes. It's just I haven't seen much. He wears 45 and he's with backups and so forth, and I just haven't seen a whole lot. It doesn't mean he hasn't been good. I mean, they're looking at the tape. It's just that we're out there going, who's going to flash, who's going to make a play, and I just haven't really seen it. Doesn't mean he's not good. I'm just saying, and he's got to be covered up by those big linemen. He is not a big dude. He's built. But He's listed at, I think, 5'11" or 6'220", and that's about what he is. He's not a big dude. All right, let's get to it, man. I do have a couple of nice, sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistols for you.
John Lund Unleashed presents the Caboose pistol.
Wedged in the crack of her buttocks.
Somehow, someway, Lundo thinks this is the best way to leave a final impression on you for the day.
The old Caboose pistol, everybody has one.
Did you say Caboose pistol?
I know some women who could hide a machine gun in there.
Yeah.
Leave me out of this, you weirdo. Here's John.
All right, two things today. I don't know if you saw the funeral procession for Ozzy Osbourne today in England, but let me get rid of the music here because you're going to want to hear this big band. Let me get rid of this here. I usually like that music, but let me get rid of it because I want you to hear this. So, I mean, this looks like a team won a championship or something, but this is in Manchester, England. Playing a little Iron Man. And there's the hearse. There's Ozzy's hearse. And people are turning out like it's, like the Warriors just won the championship or something. But your Ozzy fashion. I gotta be honest, I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't think I've ever seen like a victory parade hearse going down the street with all these people out there, but that's Ozzy, man. I mean, I would have thought maybe like a rock band would have been like on some kind of a float playing those songs or something like that. But you got a marching band. That's kind of the way it goes. And then finally, fish fry guy. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's always been, I've seen comedians do this where it's like, they talk about the all you can eat buffet. And I guess if you advertise an all you can eat buffet, that's what you have to provide, right? All you can eat should mean all you can eat. And so this guy is really mad at this fish fry joint because they went back on their word. But he's a rather large gentleman, and I could see where the restaurant could say that's it. And I could also see why the rather large gentleman was pissed off because, after all, it is all you can eat.
Upset because an all-you-can-eat fish fry didn't live up to its name.
It's false advertising.
Bill Wisseth has a beef with the all-you-can-eat fish fry at Chuck's Place in Thiensville. He was there Friday when the restaurant cut him off after he ate a dozen pieces.
We asked for more fish, and they refused to give us any more fish.
The restaurant says it was running out of fish and patience, arguing Bill has been a problem customer before. They sent him on his way with another 8 pieces, but that still wasn't enough. He was so fired up, he called the police. Why did you think you needed to call the police about it?
Well, because...
Can I stop that for just 1 second and I'll let Bill continue to talk? See how much fish that is? I mean, if they're talking about a piece, and I think he said he ate a dozen and they sent him home with like 8 more. So those are big pieces of fish. So he ate 20 pieces of that fish and wasn't satisfied. Like, I get it. But one of the reasons they do all you can eat is because they, like at an Italian place, for example, how much pasta can you eat? Like once you eat a big bowl, it's like, damn, I wish I could eat more. And they don't let you take it home. I mean, if that's like, look how big that is. I mean, I don't know how many pieces are on there. Maybe there's 8 on that one, but the guy ate 20. So anyway, carry on.
I think that people have to stand up for consumers.
And he wasn't done. He came back 2 days later with a picket sign. Elizabeth Remming is a waitress there and says they've tried to work with Bill over the years, like letting him have a tab he still hasn't paid off.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, I've got a running account here.
Bill isn't backing down, saying his fish fry fight isn't over.
Anyway, dude, first of all, I'm surprised Bill isn't dead because that is deep fried fish. And if you ate 20 pieces of that, I think you have to run and see your cardiologist pretty much right away. And if you have it's one thing, and I don't think it's the greatest thing ever, but I've heard of this, like smaller bars and places like that, where you might have a running tab at a bar. Like, I don't think that's a great idea. But back in the day, they would do that. And like, okay, you got to pay up. I think you should have to pay up right away. I mean, they have these things called credit cards. You don't have to pay right away. Like, I don't think you should have a running tab at a bar. That could be fairly dangerous as well. I just put it on my tab, put it on the Underhill account, 2 steak sandwiches and a steak sandwich. But, so that's dangerous as well. But I mean, fish fry joint, man, your cardiologist is like, bring it on, man. That's great business for me. But I mean, those pieces of fish were gigantic. and he ate a dozen while he was there, and then they sent him on with 8, and he still had a tab that was open. I mean, that's what you could say to him. Like, you're calling the police? Dude, you've had 20 pieces of fish, and you have an open tab that you haven't even paid for. Like, you didn't even pay for the all-you-can-eat. Like, doesn't that come first? Like, how about you pay for the all-you-can-eat? Well, I have a tab. Well, pay your tab of the all-you-can-eat that you just ate. No, but I want, it's all-you-can-eat. Yeah, but you didn't pay your tab. If you didn't pay your tab, you can't have all-you-can-eat. Like, man, guys calling the police? Dude, they're doing you a favor. I'm telling you that right now. Doing you a favor. Anyway. It's unbelievable. I mean, believe me, they bring you in with that all you can eat. You can't eat that much. It's like, but you go to something on the weekends, and you go to a place and they've got like, okay, we got all you can eat mimosas at a brunch or something. It's like, how many can you drink? I mean, if you drink, if you're in it a couple of pitchers, like, you're on your face. You can't drink that many. Plus, they got cheap champagne. You just got to watch it. All you can eat. You probably, they've done the math. They're gonna win. And they should be able to cut you off anytime. My God. Good morning, Nutter. It's nice to see you, my friend. So there you go. There is your sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistol. Hi, Matt. Hi, Christian. It is good to see everybody today. It is outstanding to see everybody today. What a pig. I know. I mean, dude, fish fry, like, certain things, I get it. But I'm like, my God, man. Fish fry? They're doing you a favor by cutting you off. My God, man. You're calling the police. I'm calling the police. All right, dude. Over a fish fry? Like, if I'm a police, I'm like, I'm not going to. Anyway, there's a problem over at the fish fry. Like, I'm not going over there. Car 12, you seem to be the closest. Do you go over to the fish fry? No, I'm not going to the fish fry. It's that same guy. He won't pay his tab. Not doing it, man. Anyway, there you go. That is your sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistol. Anything else today? Is that it for the day? All right, I'm going to come back at 6 o'clock. There was poor bathroom. That's outstanding. Yeah, could you imagine? His plumber's like, bring it on. No, actually, he's not. He's like, no. I'm going to come back at 6. There was so much other stuff today. I think I'm going to come back at 6 o'clock. So keep those alerts on, and we'll do some more Niners tonight. Hopefully the Giants can get over 500 and not be swept by the Pirates today. So that would be nice. All right, there you go. Remember, any questions, comments, thoughts, put them right underneath here at John Lund Unleashed on YouTube and other places. At John Lund Radio is a great place on X. So if you hit me up there, I'll try to get back to you on those as well. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel, John Lund Unleashed. Please hit us with the like. That will grow the fine place that we have already, the fine community that we have already. So please give us a like before you get out of here as well. For all things Unleashed, just go to johnlundunleashed.com. Do that as well, and keep those alerts on, because we will do more stuff throughout the day. Everybody have a great, today is hump day? Yeah. Everybody have a great hump day Wednesday.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!